This is Pip.
So this is Pip, is it? Come in, Pip. Oh, do you wish to see Miss Havisham?
If Miss Havisham wishes to see me...
Ah, but you see she doesn't. Come along, boy.
Every door marks a threshold, and therefore where the door is this ritual. We all come home through the door, from the public world into the private world. And either we take off our shoes as the Dutch and the Japanese, or we take off our hats, or we make some recognition that we've now crossed over into another kind of space. And that's a very terrifying little moment. I mean, you may not say it's terrifying, but when you come home from work, all the tension is right at the door. You open the door, you're in one kind of mind, you've got your briefcase in your hand or your tools or whatever it is you've been doing in the city or in the town, and you walk into the domestic sphere, and hell breaks loose. So you've got to make some kind of ritual. You know, you go upstairs and take a shower, or you have a drink, or you do something to make, you kiss the wife, or this, or the children come rushing. Some special thing happens because you're crossing from this place to that place, and the door is the place where it's marked.
Whenever friends come round, I keep thinking, they must think this woman is completely paranoid. And there's times I think, am I getting paranoid? I don't think I am. But if I was to relax on the security, the flat would be broken into once a week, just because it's there.
How have they got in, generally?
Usually by some brutal method, kicking a hole in a window which was very vulnerable. And another time just kicking the door, the front door, wide open. Like everybody else I've ever spoken to who's been broken into, you do feel violated. That is the word that comes to mind, because it's part of me. You can't help but think of property as being part of yourself. This is my sanctuary, and someone has come into it without my permission. Once I was surprised by a would-be burglar. I was sat watching TV and I could hear a door creaking, and I could literally hear my heart pounding, going ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. And I had something like 30 seconds to prepare myself for the shock that someone was going to walk through that door who I hadn't invited in. I didn't want to have a confrontation with a stranger in my living room, in my house. I've got lots of grills and a Yale #1 lock, which is supposed to be very good. Variety of chopped bed locks. Plus I've got what's called a London bar, which is to prevent the door being kicked in, as well as extra bars that go over the glass and locks on the windows. So I come home from work and everything's locked up. The bars on the windows and the door are sort of closed, and it's sort of semi-dark. And all you can see is the bars. If you look out to the garden, you can see these bars. And I think, I'm the one who's living in prison.
It's almost as if our sense of security is symbolized in the lock on the door. And the locked door is the mark of private space. What you own is me and mine, and the lock on the door is the symbol of it. It's almost to say we're all living in a safe. Each of us has his own vault. That's how it has become. And the fear of the other on the other side of the door. So in movies, the door handle turning is a great focus for the invasion of the unknown intruder, the other coming through. Is the door really bolted? Is it locked? It's the same kind of image as a curtain blowing in the window. Is something unknown coming through into what's mine. It's the unconscious invading consciousness, is another way of seeing it psychologically. So these things appear in dreams all the time. The door and the window. These are places of our imagination.
A proper door has got to be substantial. When you knock on the door, it's got to be solid. When you turn the lock, it's got to make a proper noise. And when you close the door, it has to make a certain sound. But you know it's not just keeping out drafts. But it's also the point at which you enter the threshold, and you have to be aware of its significance.
Hi.
Nice to see you again.
Hi.
You don't mind my no shoes rule, do you?
Yes, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, do you want to slip? I ask people to take their shoes off as they come into the studio. It's my territory. I'm in a controlled space where I'm in charge. And outside, it's another world. This was a study.
Yeah.
You send things away, and look what I've just seen. I said there was nothing wrong with it, hadn't been damaged.
Yeah. Can you get that repaired? Tom?
No,
Or you
that's
do it yourself.
well, that looks like a crack from the back, and with acrylic, that's about it. It'll be firm for years and years. I mean, it'll be safer than oil, but that's it, I think. Damn. The thing that's important for me about the door as an image in a painting is it's a very easy way to hold people. Once they look at it, they have to move in a very deliberate way to confront the painting because they're confronting a door which they're used to.
When you go into a Russian Orthodox church, instead of having the open vista you have in Western churches, you come to this barrier, which I think answers to a reality. People looking for the divine come up against a barrier. People trying to pray come up against something impenetrable. And the screen gives expression to that. One's standing outside and one's standing where one knows to be in a situation of exile. One of the most important things about this screen is that it's not just a blank wall. It's marked with icons of those people who have stood on that frontier area where God and man meet. Only priests and deacons pass through the screen. When you see those doors open, you are at least at the level of drama, seeing through into this divine realm. But when, as a human being who happens to be a priest, because it's your function, you pass through that door, you find on the other side just chests of drawers full of equipment and so on. It's very important to realize that it's only a sign. I can't put it into words better than my bishop put it when I was ordained. I was led to the doors and left standing before them. My bishop came out to draw me into the altar to ordain me priest. And he took hold of my shoulders and said, "Benedict, this is the moment of your death." There's a fundamental paradox involved in relating to God. The door that opens to give a glimpse of something gives expression to one's desire, but it has to close. And one's in fact got to beat on that impenetrable barrier, which is the mystery of difference.
Que faites-vous devant ma porte à une heure pareille? Dieu! Vous avez du sang partout. Pardon. De quoi me demandez-vous pardon?
D'être une bête. Pardon.
I think the door would be the architectural equivalent of the basic rhythm of diastole, systole, the opening and closing of heart valves, the opening and closing of flowers, the opening and closing of the vulva, the opening and closing of the iris of the eye, and that this is something that is a constant fluctuation in nature, and the door would be, in architecture, our piece of that. The Romans had 3 gods in the doorway alone. They had the god of the threshold, the god of the door, and the god of the hinges. The god of the hinges. Imagine that. This sense of open and closed. And are things properly closed, properly open?
Who's that? It isn't Meg.
Slamming the door is the most decisive way you can say no. And that's standard. I'm out of here. Wham! And opening the door is the most lovely welcome there is. I suppose the best reflection of that idea of the doubleness of the door is in the Roman god Janus, or Janus, from which we have the word janitor. He's two-faced. He looks both ways. Just as the month January, New Year's Eve, the new and the old. It's not the new and the old with Janus so much, or Janus. It's the capacity to keep out and let in, to signify the distinction between the public and the private, the inner and the outer. And he also was the god who initiated all rituals and ceremonies. It started with him. So he's the starting place, as January is the beginning of the year.
Good evening, how are you doing? All right. Good evening, sir. Hello, welcome. Good evening. I realise that a lot of people have prejudice regarding doormen themselves. They've had experiences at other places, they've got a certain image. So they could be a little bit fearful, a bit anxious, a little bit timid or whatever. And I put them at their ease, you know, if I want them in the club. Sorry, man, go ahead. Good evening, how you doing? Part of the evening starts with me and my reception of the public. It's kicks them off on the right foot, or they don't get in at all kind of thing, you know, because I'm looking for balance. Right, folks. Who's with who?
I'm going back in, and they
You've
are
been
very
in?
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, the girl knows that I've been.
Have you been? Yes, are they, gentlemen? Yes, thank you very much. Go ahead.
Do you have to have a really good sense of what's going on and how people are?
Yeah. But it's that's been built up over 9 years of working on various doors. Is that you build up a sixth sense, an instinct. You know, you look at a certain person, you go, no. You know, and okay, I mean, I can't say that's infallible, but it is 9 times out of 10 it works. You know, you sort of go, boom, no. Particular reason? Yeah, a little bit worse for wear, I think, this evening. Who? gentleman with you, for sure. But, you know, that's about it, really.
He's okay, honestly.
No, I'm sorry, that's my decision to make.
So it's a much more psychological job than just muscle.
Oh, listen, it's sort of 95% this, and, well, 5%. I'm not even going to say fist, I'm going to say muscle, you know, restraining or throwing out or physically ejecting people. That to me is like, well, violence is an end of communication.
We're not going to try it, don't worry.
Well, you already tried it and you failed, didn't you?
No, but...
You've tried it and you failed. I went, boom, I had you like that. I mean, as soon as you walked up here, I realised.
I don't have any money.
Oh, we'll put it on credit card then.
You have to finish the old chips before you come in. I mean, that's, yeah.
Sorry?
We're finished.
Oh, good.
You deal with that? Thanks very much.
All right. Please, come inside. No, thank you. You took it, so you deal with it. No, you... Oh, that's a very foolish little person, aren't you? Very foolish little guy. Can you take a friend away from here, please?
Presumably your physical size must come in and be of great assistance.
Yeah, it does. You know, I think really and truly it's better to be a big doorman than a small doorman, because as a big doorman, most people will automatically accept that you'll be more physically able than them. Whereas with a small doorman, he may be the same, but he'll have to prove it all the time. I know that, yeah, you said that.
Does it sound wrong?
He sounds and looks.
No, come on. Don't never judge a book by its cover.
I have to, I have to.
But you can't.
I have to.
You can't.
That's the job I'm in.
Yeah, what, to judge a book by its cover?
Yeah,
so
you have to, yeah.
That means you're in a deceiving job.
No, not really.
You look
have
at
to.
people and say, yeah, he's...
Boom, that's correct, yeah. Someone came in here earlier, same thing, I said, no, you can't come in.
Why?
He said the same thing to me. He said, no, I wasn't on. Because that's the way I do my job. That's it, that's all there is to it.
What job are you doing?
The one in front of you, mate.
You're doing a shit job, man.
All right, if you say so.
You're doing a shit job.
You know, the guardian at the door must reflect the danger of the gap in the wall, or the possibility that you must be discriminating about what comes through the door. You must know the intruder so that it's no longer an enemy but a guest. And only the guardian can make those discriminations. We still have them. We have them outside all the doors. We have lions, we have gargoyles, we have figures who are telling you, know where you're going and know who's coming in, know what's coming in. And that's what the guardian does. And you have to usually pay to go into the next place, cross the threshold. You throw something to the dog or you tip the gatekeeper. Passing through is a beginning, an initiation. Initiation means starting. It's the beginning of something new happening, leaving something old behind.
These doors mark a boundary between two different worlds in a way, don't they?
Yes, I suppose they do. You could say that they keep out any unqualified person from the lodge room.
How do people communicate between them?
Well, you can see the knocker. On this door, it's a rather large one. Of course, it isn't the same size on every other lodge door because they're not all as grand as this. The one on the inside would indicate to the guardian outside just what work was being done inside, and he would then indicate to the people inside that someone was outside wanting to come in. That indication would be passed to the master, who would then say whether the person could be admitted or not admitted. So the knocker is a guard and a safeguard to what is going on inside.
There's another world on the other side of the door, and if there are no doors, there are no surprises. The door makes it possible to feel that there's an entry into something else that's unknown. Think of your own childhood and think of your own dreams. What's behind the door?
This door, boy.
After you, miss.
Don't be silly. I'm not going in.
You go back to one of those old houses in the country or your grandmother's house or something, and there's spookiness about behind the door because it's different space and the door marks that. If we don't have doors, if we only have sliding doors, if we only have doors that are glass and we don't know where the door is, where the edge is, where the boundary and the thresholds are, we lose the inner for the outer. We've lost the distinction between inner and outer. At airports and stations, we don't want to have doors. Movement and flow is the important thing. To keep everything open. It's the absence of Janus, the absence of noticing one threshold from another threshold. We place a great deal of value today on being as open as possible. Open marriages, open relationships, everything being as open as possible because that's supposed to prevent exclusivity, which leads into elitism and so on. But just think of what the open plan office, without doors, what that does to that part of you that needs intimacy, privacy, and secrecy. What can you do? There are no doors. There's no way of indicating territorial boundaries. You're coming too close, you're invasive, you're intrusive. You know, I think that what we call psychological problems on the job, such as absenteeism, need to take pills, sexual harassment, these are architectural problems as much as psychological problems. I think they have to do with the design of space and how we work. You see, if the job has no place for my inwardness, no sense of soul, where am I going to find soul in this huge open plan office? So the woman walks by and she becomes a projection of soul. She offers all that intimacy that I'm not allowed to have because of no doors and so on. I think one of the ways of getting a sense of this word soul that's used so much is the secret part. The part that you share maybe with certain people or that you only let certain people in on. The intimate sphere.
You can't do this to me.
I see. It's you that this is being done to. It's not me at all. Not what it means to me. I can't do this to you. Oh, yes, I can.
Look, after all, I am a door. I open up, I close and shut off, I keep out, I hold in, I don't let someone else come in, I welcome other things to come in. So my own soul is a door, making these moves all day long.
I know why you came in.
Why?
Because something has happened to us.
But it doesn't happen like that. In a day.
It happens in a moment sometimes. I felt it this afternoon. It was like lightning striking. It strikes rarely.